Hey, welcome back to more Wizard Kid. Last time we covered the Night Bus and the Leaky Cauldron. This time we're doing the Dementor and Talons and Tea Leaves. Basically arriving at Hogwarts and having the first few classes of the year, including some new classes we haven't seen.
Yep, as usual, the book has to have its obligatory, here's the first class of a few different classes, and this is all you're going to see for the whole year, so have fun.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, more exciting things are to come than going to class. Though I'm sure there'd be a lot of people that'd just be interested in seeing a bunch more class stuff.
Harry is. I can't believe he has no interest in the history.
But yeah, any updates to the counters this time? I think there was
just
right?
one that I saw. I wasn't super close at checking them this time. But yeah, so
and I completely forgot to.
So anyway, yeah, we start off with just, it's the morning of September 1st. Everybody needs to get to the train station. There's the world's smallest bit of, not drama. What would you call it? Just
tension?
Well, it's just...
Maybe? You're talking about, Harry trying to get a chance to talk to Ron and Hermione?
No, it's Percy bitching
oh yeah,
Ron ruined my photo, and it's just there's this running trend for a couple pages that Ron really wants to get away from Percy because he's annoying, but then can't, and it's just but yeah.
And meanwhile, Ron probably had nothing to do with the picture anyway.
It's it was such a nothing burger. It's just, oh no, the picture is smudged, and now Penelope's nose is all blurry, and so she's hiding.
No, it said blotchy.
Yeah, and so I'm this intrigued me because I don't know if we've ever seen another instance where if you damage a picture, a magical picture, let's say you poke through where their eye is their eye just gone forever now? That's really weird because they can move around in the picture, but I don't know.
I mean, we have more. I have another question about paintings and magical pictures that will come up later, but we'll see.
Yeah. There's also just
I actually missed this. I was gonna say I missed this because I didn't realize
it's a blink and you miss it sentence. That's just
no, because I saw the thing about she had a blotchy nose and she was hiding under the frame. I didn't realize that was connected to the tea thing. I interpreted it as just, here's one point, which is somebody spilled tea on this picture and Percy's pissed about it. And on an unrelated note, Harry gets a chance to look at it and is like, huh, she's hiding beneath the frame. I thought that she just took the picture like that. But I guess not.
Yeah, when I hear blotchy, I hear it's been damaged by the tea, not I don't know what else you would say.
Well, no, I assume I think a blotchy nose means I thought it meant she had spots on it or something.
Oh, I'm looking it up.
Yep. Covered with blotches, patchy.
Blotches.
No.
I guess it could be pimples. I don't know. Could go either way. Anyway, so the blink and you miss it thing I was referring to was just there's some everybody's getting ready to leave. They're on a tight time limit, but then it mentions Molly and Ginny and Hermione were quietly giggling to themselves as Molly told a story about a love potion that she used once. I'm like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this coming up? Okay. And it's love potions we'll have more to talk about later. They're questionable, but...
Yeah, they come up in a more relevant context later, but yeah.
I don't know why that was included. So, they get in, there's these two ministry people who show up with cars, and they get driven to King's Cross, and these guys driving the cars don't get names, they never speak, they don't get described, which is fine, because they're unimportant.
Well, they get physically described. One of them's wearing, green velvet or something, a green velvet suit, I think.
See, I just imagine them as the Blues Brothers, but but yeah, they show up and never speak and then leave, and it's okay, that's fine. I mean, they weren't important characters, but it was kind of surprising, and it's just they come and go so quickly, and it kind of just brushes past the stuff about these cars are kind of magically fitting through gaps that they shouldn't be able to, and moving to the head of traffic. Mm-hmm. And it's we had a whole chapter about the ridiculousness of the night bus. I guess it makes sense to not focus on it again.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned this when that came up, but it's actually it only occurred to me now, it's kind of weird that wizards even have cars. I thought they made a point out of Arthur's Ford Anglia being a muggle item that he took and enchanted.
Yeah,
apparently
they did.
It's just common.
It's weird because, yeah, they made this whole big deal out of, like, you know, you're the head of the misuse of Muggle artifacts thing, like, department. You should know better than to do this because you're putting spells on a Muggle item. And I guess we're just going to forget about that? I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's questionable.
Maybe he started a new trend.
Yeah, it's possible, I guess. You know, within 1 year, just the Ministry is now just employing magic cause. Yeah. I guess it's possible. But so, anyway, they get to the station.
Yeah, they get there with a decent amount of time. They're not in a huge rush.
Honestly, I hear that they have 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, that's not enough. Because, like, if it was just any old train, sure. But this is, like, it's going up to Scotland. It's going to be a day-long journey. They have to bring all their stuff, make sure they didn't forget anything. Like, to me, I'd want to be there probably, like, a fucking, 45 minutes early.
Yeah, no, I get that. But at least it's not, like, literally the last minute like it was last year. Yeah. But yeah, so here's just me being like, that's not correct. But there's a part where it says that, like, Harry and Arthur were leaning against the metal barrier, and I'm like, actually, it's supposed to be brick. And I'm like, you know, I'm going off the movie, but the movie is filmed in the actual location that this is supposed to be. So it's like, I don't know, who the hell cares? But it was there. So. Just another little character moment I noticed is it's just, you know, everybody's kind of saying their goodbyes, and it says that Harry is embarrassed but really quite pleased when Molly gives him an extra hug, and it's just like, you know, a little somewhat sad and somewhat cute moment, and I don't know what else to say about it, but yeah, you know, it makes sense for the character.
Indeed.
What else we got here? Yeah, so as they're all kind of boarding the train, Arthur kind of is like, Harry, come over here, and, you know, I need to tell you something. And Harry's like, nah, you know, overhearing things is my specialty, I already know. And so it's just, yeah, and the conversation is basically just, like, you know, I'm sure you must be terrified. He's like, no. and it's just like, okay, well...
He kind of doesn't care.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, I get it. Like, he makes a very good argument. It's like, you know, my life has already been in danger the last couple years because, like, you know, Wizard Hitler wants me dead. And the fact that there's also this escaped convict doesn't really add much to that.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to be safe at school anyway, so whatever.
It's really no different from before, so... At least from his perspective.
Right.
Of course, as we know, this whole thing is a little more complicated, and he's not really in danger anyway, so... But yeah.
Yeah, and there's the whole... There's a part in there where he's just like, you know, whatever you do, promise that you're not going to go looking for Sirius. And he's like, why would I? What would the point of that be? And, you know, we don't get an explanation, but obviously the reason is because... You know, Harry would have a reason for revenge, but doesn't know it yet. And so the reader won't learn that until later on, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a nice little... It makes sense for Arthur to say this, but also not give him... Like, it's very diegetic intrigue, where, like, normally in a story... Often in a story, it can be annoying when they kind of hint at something without giving you the answer, but here it makes perfect sense. Arthur is worried about it, but he, like, it would literally cause the problem to tell Harry why. So he's just kind of hoping he doesn't find out. But he's like, hey, just in case you hear anything, you know, please don't go after him.
Right.
So, yeah.
So the whole morning, Harry's been trying to tell Ron and Hermione what he had heard, and so they're on the train, and Ginny's with them, and there's just this moment that I found hilarious, where he's like, hey, I have something to tell you in private, and Ron's just like, go away, Ginny. She just goes, oh, that's nice, and then leaves. That's just nice little moment.
And so they kind of, they go all the way down to the end of the train to look for a kind of, you know, what would you call it? Like an empty compartment, or just one that's far away from people. Yeah. At the very end, they find one that just has a single sleeping man in it, who they identify by his trunk as Professor R.J. Lupin. And it's been pointed out, they're like, huh, you know, we don't usually see teachers on here. I wonder what, you know, okay, fair enough. He must be the new guy. But that raises a question for me, which is, why is he taking the train unlike the other teachers?
I don't really know, other than...
generate theory, maybe, but I feel like he's here more for plot convenience and for setting him up.
It's probably plot convenience, but you could argue that you know, because they had to pick up the Dementors, which I have to question, why the fuck are the Dementors taking the train? But anyway, ignoring that, like, because they had to bring them on board, like,
I think in the movie they show a shot of the Dementors just kind of arriving at the school by themselves, right? Like more of them. Maybe they put some of them on the train in case Sirius was trying to enter through there, and then the main host of Dementors was going to come just on their own.
I guess that would make sense, but yeah, because you know, Lupin is talented at defensive magic and can do the Patronus and stuff. He might be there specifically for protection.
My guess was going to be, it's heavily implied that this guy is like super poor, right? Because he's shabby, his clothes are old and tattered, his trunk is old and tattered.
Yeah, which I had to point this one out is, you know, they know what his name is because his name is on his trunk, and it says that it says Professor R.J. Lupin in peeling letters, and I'm like, dude has been a professor for -1 days so far. Why are the letters already peeling? But
well, I assume that maybe. See, I by your note, I thought you meant that the letters on Professor specifically were peeling. I'm like, that is strange. But if they don't specify it, it could just be the other letters, and then you put Professor there later.
It could also just be that the trunk itself is kind of peeling apart, and the letters are kind of coming with
it. I made a joke that, you know, the case has just absorbed Lupin's, like, aura of shabbiness. That makes more sense than my theory, though, because you said about maybe it's there for defense. I was thinking, like I said, that maybe he's so poor that he can't get there another way, but that doesn't make sense. Because that makes me think, how do the teachers normally get there? I guess by broom?
Well, they can apparate to Hogsmeade and, like, either walk or take a, like, I don't know, like, they have, like, carriages and stuff. So
yeah. And I'm wondering, like, can this dude not apparate? And I'm like, because again, we yeah. Well, anyway, it's probably just the thing you said. And so, you know, they're having their conversation, and Harry tells them about this again, and then I think it's Hermione is also like, well, just don't go looking for trouble. And he goes, I don't go looking for trouble. Trouble usually finds me. And this general conversation, and that line in particular, was featured in the PC game with this sort of slightly derpy voice acting that I'll always remember. Where he's, I mean, there's a lot more derpy voice acting in this game, but Harry's just like, I don't go looking for trouble. Trouble usually finds me.
It finds me.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's how I remember it. There's also, just while we're on this topic,
that sounds like the type of line where it's like, you know, he'd say that and then kind of like look at the camera and there would be a laugh track.
Yeah. But just speaking of stupid lines from the game, just one I'll mention here, is this train is the tutorial level, and so you head on to like the next room, and they're introducing the mechanic of all three of your characters are with you at a time, and
oh shit, it's Sonic Heroes.
Yeah, so you can charge up a spell, and if you hold it for long enough, the other two will start charging the same spell, and you can do like a triple blast. And there's this cabinet that's like super duper locked, so you have to hit it with 3 Alohamoras at the same time.
God, it's the fucking Seeker missile locks from Prime 2.
Yeah, kinda. So you go in there, and there's a cutscene where Ron goes, "Wow, it's a magically locked cabinet!" He's just like really impressed with this thing. Which I have to assume is probably just standard, but he's like extremely, you know, ecstatic to see. I have to fucking show you this after because it's like it's glorious. But anyway, so they're talking, and suddenly the pocket sneaker scope starts going off. And this was mentioned a few chapters ago. This was the gift that I believe Ron gave him. It's supposed to go off when it's around like somebody's suspicious, but it goes off partway through the conversation.
Untrustworthy, I think.
Yeah, when somebody's being untrustworthy. And so Ron mentions that it kept going off at dinner, so Percy said it was malfunctioning, and that's supposed to be a hint that Scabbers is untrustworthy. Technically, it's foreshadowing for that. We mentioned that. Here, I'm actually not sure why it's going off, because it goes off partway through the conversation. And so my best guess, I'm wondering what yours is, my best guess is that maybe Scabbers, you know, being Peter Pettigrew, is listening to their conversation about Sirius Black, because I guess this would be the first time, really, that Peter is hearing anything beyond that he's escaped. And maybe he's, like, panicking and being nervous because they're talking about Black looking for someone, and he knows it's probably him. And, like, so that implies
also,
the sneaker is almost
Lupin
like a
is in the room and could potentially identify him. Like,
yeah, maybe.
like here,
That's
like
true.
if you want to, great source to pull this from, but in the AVGN review of the Ninja Turtles 3 movie, there's the part where it's just like April sees a rat and it's just like, huh, you look familiar to me too, and then it's like, fast forward,
right.
oh shit, it was Splinter's ancestor, and Nerd is like, how the fuck did she? I can't tell one rat from the next. But later in this book, though, Sirius says, like, I recognized Peter as the rat because I've seen him so many times. There's no way I could have mistaken it. So I don't know, but
I mean, you'd probably recognize your own cat or dog. Like, if you saw the same rat a lot, you'd probably be able to recognize it. I don't know.
After 12 years, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I didn't even read into it that much. I just thought, like, I think I've mentioned before that I always just thought the sneakoscope kind of sucked. But here, I also think it was just they were talking, and, like, partway through the conversation, Ron just kind of realizes, like, what the hell is that noise anyway? And then it's probably been going on for a while.
That's possible, yeah.
Because I was under the impression that this thing just was constantly emitting noise the entire year. Like,
I'm wondering now, is this maybe the first time that Harry's trunk has been this close to Scabbers as well? Maybe? That could be part of it?
Not sure.
Anyway, so you have the thing.
Yeah, so they have their, like, basically the train ride is just them kind of discussing various subjects, and after they're done talking about the whole Sirius Black thing, then they're just like, oh, well, going to Hogsmeade this year is going to be great, and that, Harry has to mention that he's not going to be able to go and everything, but part of this is just, Ron is just like, well, no, Hermione starts by saying, like, oh, it's so historically interesting, but, Ron is just like, man, I don't give a shit. I want to go to Honeydukes. They've got everything. And so just immediately I'm reminded of, hey, Vin, you got to check out my club. They got everything. But
yep. Well, no, you're mixing two things.
Yeah, because
the cousin comes to my club story, and then there's Vinny's impression of Stefan, who was a Saturday Night Live skit character.
Right, just little white wooden soldiers.
You got Frankenbeans, Frankensteins.
Yeah.
Everything.
Anyway, so there's that whole bit. So I already kind of mentioned this part. We'll come back to your note in a second. Just, Hermione, like, is really interested in all the historical stuff about Hogsmeade, and she specifically cites the Shrieking Shack as being the most heavily haunted building in all of Britain or whatever. And it's like, I find it hilarious because we eventually learned that this house did not exist until Dumbledore specifically had it made to be the place where Lupin transforms on the full moon. So this thing has been here for 20 years, and, for a few years of that time, once a month, there would be, like, screaming and stuff coming from it. And the only other reason that it has any notoriety is because Dumbledore specifically went out of his way to spread a rumor that it was haunted. And apparently this is enough to somehow get into books or something that Hermione read. Because, outside of what she has read in publications, I don't think she really knows, like, wizarding rumors.
Anything about it.
So yeah. I just found that kind of funny.
So this is an extreme nitpick. Oh, no, sorry. While they're talking about the historical stuff, she mentions that the inn in Hogsmeade, which I believe is that the Three Broomsticks she's talking about, the one run by Aberforth?
No, Aberforth is the Hogshead.
Oh, okay.
But I'm trying to remember, because I never remember. Leaky Cauldron is in Diagon Alley, right? And then I think Three Broomsticks is Hogsmeade, so yeah, it's... Mm-hmm. I always get them confused.
Okay. I guess it's Three Broomsticks. Anyway, she's like, oh yeah, this inn was the, the site of the 1612 Goblin Rebellion. And I'm just like, oh shit, Goblin Rebellion. Because I know that in the new, like, video game, that one's about a Goblin Rebellion. I don't know if it's the same one, because I know there were multiple. I don't think the game is set that far back, but I don't know.
I don't think it is, but it's my understanding that in History of Magic, they're learning about a new Goblin Rebellion, like, every week. Then there's, like, fucking 50 of these things. So, yeah. I have no reason to suspect that these things are connected. That entire class is just that shit, and then it's like, oh, you know, the vampires in Liechtenstein, just, you know, had problems with this thing back in fucking 1573. It's like,
or this random guy died an ironic magic death.
Yes.
Anyway, so. But yeah, no, this is the biggest nitpick of all time. But they mention like, you know, there's people running back and forth past their compartment door, and I'm like, how are they doing that when they also mention the compartment is right at the end of the train? That would not be possible.
Indeed. So everybody's favorite Malfoy and, you know, Crabbe and Goyle show up.
Yeah, it's cronies.
And they're basically just there to do their usual shtick and be like, Potter.
I see you're just as much of an orphan as usual, and Weasley, you're still poor.
Yeah,
and
but
Hermione, you're.
They don't really have anything on him yet. They're just, you know, we're gonna be assholes. But
yep.
So. Yeah, you mentioned something about this. It was, you know, Crabbe and Goyle are fucking indistinguishable to me. I don't remember which one it was, but... They
describe Crabbe and Goyle again, and they mentioned that one of them has a pudding basin haircut. And I had to think about this. I'm like, pudding... What, like a bowl? Like, why does it not just say bowl cut? I'm like, is this like a really old, like, British version of a bowl cut? Did they change it to bowl cut in the American version? Apparently not. No.
They changed it to pudding bowl.
Oh, okay. I've never heard pudding basin or pudding bowl haircut, just bowl cut, but there you go.
Yeah, so they show up and they, you know, they're about to basically just kind of start trouble over nothing specific because that's like that's what they like to do. But then I like to imagine they're just standing in the door. I mean, I keep saying it's really just Malfoy. Crabbe and Goyle have no agency of their own. So, you know, Malfoy's standing there just kind of throwing random insults at them, and he doesn't notice the sleeping adult there. And for the record, this dude's been sleeping for, like, ages. But, he like suddenly notices, he's like, who's that? And they're like, new professor. And he's just like, come on, guys.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah. But, Malfoy's so fucking worthless. So
he really doesn't have a point until, like, book 6, honestly. Like, it's been actually kind of a surprise to me that he really is irrelevant. Like, I guess, you know, not everything has to be in service to the plot.
Yeah,
that's
he's
fine.
just there to be an asshole. Like,
yeah, I guess he just represents, you know, there is this faction of the pure-blooded families that are big assholes about this stuff. You know, he's like the face of Slytherin, I guess. He represents that whole side of the wizarding world and how it's, you know, still going strong in the youth. Like, okay, fair enough. But in terms of the character himself, he really doesn't do anything until book 6.
Right. So, yes, you know, that whole thing happens, and then I forget how much time passes, but eventually the train stops. It's raining really hard, so they can't tell if they're at the castle yet. And then suddenly, you know, the lights go out, and everybody starts tripping over each other and wondering what's going on. And then Death shows up.
Yeah, so they got this whole, you know, spooky scene where people figure, you know, they're like, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And then very suddenly, like, I think it's one of them gets up with the Lumos on their wand and tries to go to the door or something.
It was actually Lupin. And he wakes up and he summons a glowing like fireball or something. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, he holds a thing in his hand. As soon as he takes 2 steps forward, door opens and we get this very evocative. I really like this scene where the chapter title, The Dementor, shows up.
The Azkaban Guard.
Yeah, which they were very cagey about actually naming until this point, but you know, there's really very little to it, but it works really well. The thing it basically just comes in and is creepy, and then, you know, everyone gets real sad.
They mentioned that it makes like, you know, a very rattling, inhaling noise, and it just kind of like, you know, makes the room colder, and everybody just you know, suddenly instantly becomes depressed.
Yeah, pretty much. And very soon after this happens, Harry's passed out. I didn't count like how many paragraphs this was or lines. I swear this scene is over in an instant, so you don't get to dwell on it, and it actually makes it spookier because then everything like as soon as it's happening, you're done, and everyone's like, "Harry, are you okay? What's going on?" And everything's back to normal. It's almost like like shit. Did that even happen? I mean, obviously it did, but it. Yeah, it puts that question in your mind of like, what the fuck just happened?
And one thing that we didn't put in the notes is as he passes out, he hears somebody screaming for help, and then when he wakes up again later, he's like, "Oh, where'd the thing go? What? Who screamed?" And Ron's just like, "Nobody screamed," and he's like, "There's concern there." So
yeah,
we don't know what's up with that until later.
And then Lupin's there. He's kind of looking after Harry a bit. Immediately offers him chocolate, which always stood out to me for some reason. Don't really know why. We find out the significance of it later on this chapter. I think it's basically just implied that it's like, because chocolate is a nice sweet treat that is enjoyable to eat, that it, is like, it worked. Because I think Harry mentions that Lupin gave him chocolate, and Pomfrey's like, I see he knows his remedies. So obviously this is like a known thing. Is like, and it makes sense. Dementors suck out your positive emotions. So having a nice little treat is.
I'm not sure if this was actually intentional in the writing, but I'm pretty sure chocolate is known to like release endorphins when you eat it. So that would actually make sense for trying to restore a little bit of happiness once it's been sucked out or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so there's more parenthetical dialogue here.
It wasn't.
I pointed this out in the last.
It wasn't that notable. It was just Harry says like, I saw the thing look around, or I think it did. It didn't really have a face. But yeah, it's just a formatting thing. You also pointed out. I'm gonna pronounce this intentionally stupidly to emphasize the spelling. Cat's meowed.
Yeah. Does it not say that in your one?
No, for me it's apparently in the British version, cat's meowed. It's spelled Miaowed. For me, it's just Meowed.
Right. Yeah, that stood out to me because I've never seen that spelling before.
Must be like a kind of
old British thing.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know. So.
And this is when they're getting out of the train and onto these carriages, which is actually the first time we're seeing them, because first years take the boat, and in the second year, Harry and Ron entered through unconventional means.
So they're riding the horseless carriages, or, as we eventually learn, not actually horseless, but whatever. And I think there's another instance of Malfoy just... Oh yeah, this is where he finds out, like, oh, you actually fainted! And, that becomes his one fucking joke, as we see in the next chapter.
Yeah, and then later on we find out that Malfoy fucking wasn't doing much better himself either.
He pissed his pants, but...
Yeah,
yeah, so not much of note really happens here. They're heading up to the castle. It's raining really hard, so the first year's taking the boat, I'm sure, having a great time. They get into the castle, and... immediately McGonagall is like, Potter and Granger, come with me. And they're like, oh shit, what happened? So they get up there, and she's just like, I heard you fainted on the train. And he's like, oh my god, I'm fine. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And Madame Pomfrey comes in and starts, doting over him. Well, no, first because she's like, oh, I'm sure you got up to trouble again. And he's like, no. But then... She mentions just like, oh, Dementors are so horrible, especially on people who are delicate. And Harry's just like, oh, shut the fuck up. But
I'm not delicate.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of, this is specifically a movie line. I had to check. In the book, he says something different, but in the Goblet of Fire...
that's a shame. It's a great line.
In the Goblet of Fire movie, when Rita Skeeter's interviewing him, he goes, my eyes are not glistening with the ghosts of my past.
Yeah, he looks over what she's writing.
Yeah, in the book, apparently, he just says, I do not have tears in my eyes.
That's also good.
So that happens, and then they're like, okay, well, you're fine, I guess you can go. Hermione, stay here for a second. We find out later that this is going to be where she gets the time turner, because she just leaves being very pleased.
It's also a nice convenient excuse for us to miss the sorting again, so
Yeah, so we don't have to name off a bunch of students and come up with a unique Sorting Hat song. We don't get another unique one until book 4. But I feel like I had something else here. I don't remember. But anyway, they get back to the feast, and Dumbledore is basically just explaining, like, you know, we have to have these Dementors here as guards, and he kind of explains, like, you know, don't mess with them because you don't want to give them a reason to be mad at you. And the way he says it is, it's not in their nature to understand pleading or excuses, which to me basically makes it sound like, you know, they don't operate through reason. They just, you know, if you're doing something that you shouldn't, or like even if you just kind of go near them or whatever, like they will attack you and you can't do anything about it, which to me contradicts the idea of them basically, you know, being given orders by the ministry or the school or whatever, because obviously they have some level of higher thought.
I didn't see that. I didn't interpret it that way, and so I didn't see it as contradictory. To me, I interpret it as just they're completely merciless. And also partially it's like the orders that they're being given are things that are kind of they would want to do anyway. Like, so guarding the Azkaban guards, the Azkaban prisoners, and making them miserable, sucking all their joy out. Like, that's the kind of shit they want to be doing anyway. You know, making people miserable and ruining their lives. So that's, you know, that's fine. And then here they're like, okay, you know, go to this school and look for a person. And I'm sure they're probably passively sapping on all the students throughout the entire year, even if you know, not directly. So, but you know, I think the idea is just that they can't understand nuance. Stuff like stand here and make sure these people don't leave, or look for this guy is very simple. But as soon as they have to get into the complexities of, like, you know, like, oh well, I was doing this thing that you would, you know, that you want to stop me from doing, or that, you know, you aren't supposed to allow, but I have my reasons, and, you know, it's because of my personal circumstances, or because I had to, because of blah blah blah. And it's like they basically just don't care. Like,
yeah,
they,
I guess
they
that
hard
makes
and fast
sense.
stick to exactly what they've been told, or what, you know, what that kind of basic understanding they have. It's questionable how sentient these things are, but
Yeah, I didn't double check too much on that. I did look up the wiki article on them, and the only thing that stood out to me was the entire article was written in past tense. Like, you know, Dementors were this thing, and I'm like,
that with everything?
And I'm just like, that's really weird. Did something happen to them? And I looked in the discussion page, and somebody was questioning it, and they're just like, no, that's just how it's written. I don't know. It was weird, but I actually have the Fantastic Beasts book, and I read it once a long time ago. And I remember at the beginning of the book, it has this section that's explaining, like, you know, we categorize everything into, like, beast, being, and there's some third category I don't remember the name of, and the categories are a little ill-defined, and, you know, the ones that have enough, you know, intelligence and, what would you call it, like, like, you know, basically just sentience or whatever, sapience. It's like the ones that, you know, have that and, you know, object to being calling beasts, you know, we'll call them beings because, you know, that separates them. But yeah, Dementors are just fucking weird because they're described as breeding in a later book, but apparently they reproduce through, like, spores. And, like, it's basically just whenever there's a lot of misery in the world, they thrive on that, and it causes them to reproduce. I don't think they ever die. And like, I don't think they can be killed either.
I'm looking at the wiki now. It says that you know, they don't mate, but they apparently just grow like fungus where there is decay. So they just kind of appear. I guess they're just a natural consequence of certain magical forces.
Yeah.
Just spawn these things.
They're pretty fucked up.
Yeah. And apparently, while we're on this topic, I sort of briefly skimmed this. Apparently, the whole Azkaban thing is kind of backwards. Like, they were there first because the place was like the fortress of some dark wizard who did a bunch of experiments. And when he died, the concealment charms faded, and the Ministry of Magic went to investigate and just found this fucking, island fortress with a bunch of these horrifying monsters on it, and they're like,
Jesus.
if we make these things leave, I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe we should just leave them here. And then they did, and then eventually they're like, oh, what if we put prisoners there?
God.
Because they're fucking scumbag.
So, that actually, I somehow missed this note earlier. I was mentioning, when the train stopped to pick up the Dementors, I was a little curious what the deal was with that, because I couldn't remember where exactly Azkaban was supposed to be, other than it was somewhere in the ocean, and it says it's just right in the middle of the North Sea, which, if you don't live in Europe and probably don't know, it's essentially just north of Europe, east of the British Isles. So it's just an island in the middle of there somewhere.
Between Scotland and Scandinavia, that kind of place.
And so I have to imagine that anybody who ever does have to go there probably just goes there magically. And so there isn't, a ferry or something going to and from it. But
right.
So I was like, the reason I wanted to check this is I'm like, is this where is, closest to Azkaban, I guess? And this is where the Dementors are getting on, but it's, I don't know. It's not really worth questioning.
Yeah. Anyway, though, so following that, we get to see the end of the ceremony where Dumbledore is basically, like we said, warns everyone about the Dementors and mentions, you can't reason with them, just don't give them a reason to fuck with you.
Yeah, and he's on a lighter note, let's introduce the new teachers, and here's Professor Lupin, and basically nobody really applauds for him except for the trio, because they saw him kind of doing,
Well, they mentioned it was the people in the compartment, so that also includes Neville and, Ginny, right? Because they were there too.
Yeah, I guess. And then it mentioned, Ron is just he's like, oh shit, look at Snape. And it just describes Snape, let me find the actual passage here. It's so good.
Professor Snape, the potions master, was staring along the staff table at Professor Lupin. It was common knowledge that Snape wanted the Defense Against the Dark Arts job, but even Harry, who hated Snape, was startled at the expression twisting his thin, sallow face. It was beyond anger. It was loathing. Harry knew that expression only too well. It was the look Snape wore every time he set eyes on Harry.
Yeah, so
I guess that's supposed to imply that it's, personal as well, maybe? Because it's personal with Harry, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, at this point in the series, we don't know why he hates Harry, other than he just, seems to single him out for some reason. But, yeah, it's so I guess the way this is described, he's probably just, sneering at him really intensely or something, but it just reminded me of this stupid face that Spoonie made, so I'm just gonna have to include that. But, yeah, there's that, and then he says, and now our previous Care of Magical Teachers, teacher, Professor Kettleburn, has decided to retire and enjoy his time with his remaining limbs.
Character who was never mentioned before now.
Yep, this is the only time he's ever been mentioned, so we get our one-off named character here.
Also, can wizards not regrow limbs? You'd think they'd be able to. I can't think of any characters that have a missing limb other than this guy.
Doesn't Moody have a peg leg?
Oh, yeah.
Or not a peg leg, but it's like a metal...
prosthetic.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, it's taking over that position is Hagrid, and all the people who like Hagrid, are cheering, and he's, up there trying to kind of hold it together, and is, crying a little bit, wiping his eyes on the tablecloth, and it's just kind of a cute moment. And it's sad to know how quickly it goes to shit here.
Yeah. As we'll find out in the next chapter, which I suppose we'll move on to if you have no further notes about that one.
Not really. I guess I'm just... Did you assume that he got the position specifically because his name has now been cleared now that the whole thing with Tom Riddle's diary is out?
I suppose that probably helped. I imagine that the appointment of teachers at especially a big prestigious school like Hogwarts probably does have to have some level of approval from the board or something. And we know that Lucius isn't on it anymore because he got kicked off after the events of the last book, and also generally, now it's known that Hagrid is definitely innocent of what he was accused of. So probably people, if there were any dissenting voices about this, then they probably aren't anymore. So I imagine it's multiple factors, but I figure, you know, if Kettleburn retired like 2 years ago, then you know, I'm sure Dumbledore could probably still have gotten Hagrid the job anyway. But
yeah,
hard to say.
Anyways, on to Talons and Tea Leaves, which is the one I said earlier, where it's just here's a little bit of a few new classes.
Yep.
And yeah, we start out with fucking Malfoy here.
Yeah, he's apparently just made a bit out of pretending to faint in front of people, and everyone thinks is the most hilarious shit in the world. Yeah, I say everyone. It's you know, his fellow Slytherins.
Yeah, but it's basically just like he pretends to faint, and then there's that, and then the other Slytherins are even less funny because they're just like, look out, Potter! There's a Dementor! Ooh! It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, they're amusing themselves and probably nobody else, but they're still being very annoying.
Right.
So here we have, in the last chapter, we know Hermione got something and was happy about it. We don't know what. We learned that she was taking way too many classes. And here that we see a look at her schedule, and Ron's like, your schedule's messed up. It says that you have...
3 different classes.
Yeah, it says you have divination, Muggle studies, and arithmancy all at 9 a.m. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And she's just like, oh, no, I cleared it with McGonagall. And he's like, that doesn't... What do you mean? And she's just like, oh, don't worry about it.
No, she gave me permission to break reality. And then she's actually correct.
But I take further issue with this because, time travel aside, I think there might be an explanation for this that I'm overlooking. But to me, this is what the situation is. So... in Hogwarts, you have 7 years of students split into 4 houses, so there's 28 groups. These groups have never been split apart further. You don't have, 2 transfiguration classes for the year 3 Gryffindors. They all take the same class. Like, McGonagall doesn't have to cover that same subject twice. And so, why would they schedule 3 different electives involving the Gryffindors, like the year 3 Gryffindors, at the same time? Because that means nobody could be taking any of those classes simultaneously unless they have a time turner. Or the electives are for some reason treated separately, where, Hagrid does have to do the same class a couple different times throughout the day, but nobody else does. It's really weird. And
yeah, I don't know.
And especially and it's not even just the elective ones, because once you get to year 7 after you've taken your owls, you can actually drop classes you don't want anymore, because Harry drops History of Magic, but some people are still going to be taking it.
I question the notion that there are only ever 40 students admitted to Hogwarts at a time anyway.
Yeah, obviously the whole numbers thing is off. Rowling's mentioned that she's really bad at keeping numbers correct and stuff, but it's this is supposed to be the only school in Britain and, possibly nearby area. Because it's you've got...
Western Europe go to Beauxbatons, and then Scandinavia and Eastern and Southeastern Europe go to fucking Durmstrang.
Yeah, and then of course all of America goes to that one school, and there's one in all of Asia. But
no, I think there might be one in Japan. There is one in Japan. I think there's also another one in China. Maybe I can't remember.
I don't know, but either way, yeah, it's just something's a little fucky here, but. Yeah, moving on.
I actually do have an anecdote as well about clashing timetables, because when I was in year 10 and 11, me, my friend Charlie, and these 2 other students were the only people that were taking, we were the only ones in our music class, and there was another music class of people in our year, but it was a much bigger class that all had it at the same time, and we were separate. For me and Charlie, it was because we were taking computing. I don't know about the other 2. They must have also been taking some uncommon combination. But because of that, almost nobody took, these certain combinations of classes. And so they had to make a special accommodation for us. And so we had this tiny, tiny class that this teacher had to, do separately from the main one. I could believe that there's some weirdness in the timetable that will cause this. It's not completely out of the question, but I do wonder about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to share my own experience with that, like, so it's not a subject that I've had to think much about because obviously I never had any reason to get into the nitty gritty of it. But I assume that for most teachers outside of like an elementary school setting where generally the whole class just kind of stays in one room the whole day anyway, I assume that they basically will teach kind of the same thing like to each class that they get on that day, and then the next day they move on to the next thing or whatever. And that's just because you don't have the same teacher doing multiple years at once, and so it's a little different at Hogwarts where you only have one.
In high school you don't have the same teacher doing multiple years of the same class?
In most cases I don't think you do. Like for stuff like band you can, but
no, that's definitely the case. Like the same, science teacher will teach. Like even if the school has hired like 8 different science teachers, probably all of them teach multiple years, like at least 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, see, from my experience, it's like you have, you've got your 9th grade English teacher that everybody has, and then when you go to 10th grade, you have your 10th grade English teacher that everybody has, and you just kind of
even within the same year, even within the same year, it's like, oh, who do you have English with? Oh, I have it with Miss So and So. Oh, really? I have Mr. Blah blah blah. He sucks. I wish I was in your class. Like, and then the next year, maybe you do get into, Miss So and So's class. Like, and they'll swap it around and.
I guess it depends on the school then.
Maybe so. Yeah.
But so there's that aspect to it, and then I was going to mention that for me, at least when I was in junior high, I don't remember how it worked exactly in high school. We had the classes that we had to take, and then they gave us like a list of other classes. And it's like you want to pick your favorites from this, and we'll try to give you them, but there's no guarantee. And so like that was kind of what happened to me. Was I forget exactly what I had, but I was in band. I wanted to do like an art class. I don't remember what my other one was, and I didn't end up getting those, and I kind of had to get some other ones that I didn't ask for, and that's just because of scheduling issues where like I assume it's a little different at Hogwarts where it's not like we have all of these classes back to back with no breaks in between. There's probably like a couple free periods depending on what you're taking. But yeah, I assume it's just, it's a scheduling nightmare to give everybody exactly what they ask for with limited resources.
Is there a scene in Half-Blood Prince where Harry and Ron are just kind of fucking around watching the new students, and McGonagall's like, what are you doing? And they're like, we have a free period.
Yeah.
She's like, no you don't, you better be revising or something.
Yeah, that happens. But anyway, so there's that whole aspect to it, and then I will also mention the time that my classes just kind of got fucked up anyway, where 2 years in a row for my freshman and sophomore years, I was going to take German class specifically because the counselor wanted me to. I didn't want to take a language, but they're just like, colleges really want you to have a language. And I'm like, well, I don't need it. Like, that's not anything that I'm going to be getting into. And, like, the way our school treated it was you had to have X number of credits in either a language or an art class, like art or music. And so, I was already getting that, and I'm just like, I don't want to take one, but fine. If I'm going to, I don't want to take Spanish because everybody takes that. I don't want to take French because I just don't feel like it, so I'll take the German class because it's the least popular one, whatever. And so I tried to, and 2 years in a row, they scheduled me for it, but then also, like, there was another class that overrode it because I had the stupid gifted class, which was just, like, this weird, masturbatory, like, you're special, and here's this extra thing that we want you to do class. It was fucking stupid. But, so that one just kind of like came in and punted the other class out, but without really doing it correctly though, because it was the type of thing where it erased like half of my periods with that class, but not the other. And so if I was to take it, I would just be missing out every other day. And they're like, yeah, that you can't do that. So they just dropped the class, and I just got a study hall period. But, yeah, it just happened 2 years in a row. It was slightly different both times, but it got fucked up, and it's just like, yeah, sorry, couldn't do it.
While we're on this topic, sorry to drag it out, there was a similar thing where, God, this is fucking stupid. I don't actually know what the English baccalaureate is. I'm sure I could look it up, but I kind of don't care. But basically what happened around the time we were picking our options for year 10, near the end of year 9, was all our teachers suddenly started going, oh yeah, there's this new thing called the English baccalaureate, which is where, you get it if you take a humanity and a modern foreign language at GCSE. So basically, humanities being like history and geography, right? I think there was also a sociology class you could take at that point, though we hadn't had that before. And then modern foreign languages was Spanish, French, German. It was like, oh, you got to take one of each of these, and if you don't, then you won't be able to get into university, which is just false. This is not true, and is not true, was never true, was never going to be true, as far as I'm aware. But for some reason, everybody was convinced about it. Like, the teachers were all like, oh man, we got to prepare you guys. You're not going to be able to get into university if you don't do this. And what was really weird was, like, I felt like I was the only person that took this seriously. Like, everyone else is like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll just take what I want anyway. And I was like, well, I want to go to university. Like, I don't want to, go through college, and then they'll be like, oh, sorry, you don't have the English baccalaureate. And so, I picked my options according to that. Like, I really wanted to take computing and music, because those are the two things I was really most interested in at the time. And then, I was considering stuff like art, or maybe, I don't even remember what else I was looking at, but there were a few different things I was potentially interested in. But my other two slots, I was basically like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I got to take a humanity and a language. So I took, I really didn't want to take Spanish again, but I'm like, well, I guess, like, I've been doing it so far, and I'm good enough at it. And then for the humanity, I liked history better than geography, so I took that, and it was fine. I didn't dislike those classes, but I would rather that I didn't feel like I had to take them, and that I could actually pick.
Yeah.
And then this did not end up mattering, because, after secondary school, you go to college, which is different from uni. I went through 2 years of college, and then the uni only cares about what you did at college. Like, college looks at your GCSE grades from secondary school. At college, you do A-levels or B-Tech, depending on what your course is. And then uni look at what you did at college. They don't fucking care what I got at GCSE.
Yeah, I learned a similar thing where I think when I first started high school, some of the teachers were just like, so, if you plan on going to college after high school, you have to be aware that they will look at all of your performance, like, from the start of this year up until the end of your fourth year. Like, you can't just slack off the first couple and then do really good on the last or whatever, and you can't, start out good and then start slacking later. They look at all of it. But then they're like, however, I'm sure your previous teachers, back in 8th grade or whatever, told you that, your performance in these classes is also going to matter, and they don't. Like, at all. Colleges will never look at anything prior to high school. They don't care. So.
Yeah, because you aren't even the same fucking person. You're still developing.
And so that actually ties in very nicely to another side tangent here. Going back to me talking about language, because I didn't want to take one. Mm-hmm. I specifically remember some conversation that I wasn't part of, but I heard when I was in, 6th grade. And it was the girl who allegedly read the dictionary for fun. Was basically saying something about how, taking a language is so important because it gives you just this advantage over other people who didn't. Where, if you have a job later on in life where you don't have you're not bilingual, but then there's somebody else who's qualified for it and they are, then you're out. And I overheard this, and I didn't say anything, but I'm just like, bitch, we're 12. Why do you care about this? Who the hell cares about a job when you're 12?
I'm sure that got fucking imprinted on her. Somebody probably drilled that in and made her care about it.
I'm just like, who is thinking about, oh no, I might lose my job because I don't know a second language? When you're in fucking 6th grade.
Again, though, I don't think she came up with this idea. I'm sure
I
there's
know.
some girl in her life told her this, and that's the crazy thing is it's not even the only way that people will, take kids who are trying to just enjoy their childhood and be like, oh, if you fuck up now, your entire future is, fucked. You got to care about, you got to be thinking about your entire career from age 12. And
God, and surprisingly, she was white. But anyway,
you know what the ultimate joke was I went all the way through uni and got the best possible type of degree. I got first class honors, and then it didn't help me get a job really. I mean, kind of a little bit, but not any more so than if I had just gone to just to college and not uni, or if I had gotten a slightly worse degree. Nope, didn't fucking matter. Maybe if I got a master's.
And then there's me who tried reasonably well in school. I didn't overachieve, but I did my best, and I took some decently advanced classes and stuff. And then came time to go to college. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the book.
Yep.
So after that whole fucking tangent, so divination and, I guess in Hermione's case, 2 other classes are about to start. And they have to get there, and it's apparently, way off in fucking Norway. And so they have to get there and have no idea how to do it. And they run into a colorful character, fucking Sir Cadogan.
I think it's Cadogan. Or Cadogan. Something like that. Just this clumsy knight in one of the paintings. And this
on a fat gray pony. And it's not gray, but if you look up What's Opera Doc, the Looney Tunes episode, there's just this really fat white horse that I just always picture as being in this thing. But
good. So this guy seems extremely fucking irrelevant. I think he comes back in a few chapters' time to establish something, and that's kind of why he's here.
Yeah, he shows up eventually again in this book, and then
to be scared by Sirius because he saw Sirius Black or something, right?
Yeah, we'll get to it. There's that, and then he does actually come back all the way in Deathly Hallows when they're in the Battle of Hogwarts. He's just kind of running alongside them at one point, cheering them on, and it's a callback.
Yeah. In any case, so they ask him for directions to the North Tower where Trelawney's classroom is, and he's like, "Oh, I know the way. Follow me." And he starts running. Yeah, he starts running between the paintings, and obviously from their perspective, it's just he goes, off the edge of one painting and shows up in another. I have to wonder what this looks like from his perspective. If he's just in his one painting, okay, it probably looks like he's in a big field or whatever, and it's a 3D space for him, but there's just this little portal window thing that he can look through and see the castle. How does he move between paintings, and what does that look like? Is there just this gigantic fucking patchwork world of a bunch of different scenes just stitched together with
that'll be kind of
weird
cool.
Space in between? Yeah.
Also, I have to wonder
why they would go visit each other more often. I don't know.
I mean, I think they do. They go in, there's a lot of times where it mentions that a portrait is empty because they're off in a different one. But
fair enough.
So, I have to ask this because I'm just curious. There's a part where it says, he's running between the paintings. It says he reappears in front of an alarmed group of women in crinolines. Is that how so I had to look up that word. Did you know what that is?
Vaguely. It's a type of dress, I think, right?
It's one of those super wide hoop dresses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I googled it and I just saw some really ridiculous ones that were fucking 20 feet wide. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about fashion, but I had heard that word before. As an old-fashioned type of thing. It reminds me of petticoats, which that's an old thing people used to do to make their skirts puff out more. I think that nobody really does anymore.
The shiver emote in FF14 is called insufficient petticoats.
Oh, good. But yeah, anyway. So we finally get to Trelawney's classroom, and it's, they mentioned, they're like, where's the door? And they look up and they notice there's a trapdoor with, a ladder that comes out. And they're like, well, no, first it's just a trapdoor, how are we supposed to get up there? And then it just opens, and...
I will also mention that they had to climb 7 staircases to get this far.
Yes. Yeah.
This place is just so fucking far away.
I have to wonder, what the fuck other rooms are there here? Like, I know that they mentioned the castle is huge and full of different places, but there can't be that many classes.
There's absolutely not.
What the hell other, like, things do they have here? Like...
Don't know.
Anyway, so they enter, and the description of this place made me laugh because it reminded me of something. Because they mentioned, like, let me find it actually.
I've got it up. It's he emerged into the strangest looking classroom he'd ever seen. In fact, it didn't look like a classroom at all. More like a cross between someone's attic and an old-fashioned tea shop. Before you say your thing, I will also mention it says there were at least 20 small circular tables surrounded by chintz armchairs and fat little poofs. Poufs. I just like the word poofs.
It's spelled differently here. It's Pouffes.
Oh, good. Yeah, just fat little poofs.
Yeah, and it's like everything's lit with crimson light. There's these curtains that are drawn. There's lamps.
All of this will be yours. What? The curtains.
And so this place just reminded me of the Louis C.K. bit where it's like...
Yeah, the same exact bit as the dog walking alone that we mentioned last time.
You know, when you're in a little town, you go into a little shop. Oh, there's a little shop. Let's go in that little shop. And you go in and it's like... Clill-ling. Now it's just you and her. You're surrounded by her dream. You can't just go, ugh, and leave. You have to, like, look around. Pretend you're interested.
Yeah. Really? You did all this instead of killing yourself? I think, yeah, this is now 2 videos in a row where we've referenced this bit, but it's...
Did we reference it last time?
We absolutely did. But...
Good. But anyway, so, you know, Trelawney comes in and she's being her mysterious self.
Yeah, you probably haven't seen me. I can't, like, the hustle and bustle of the castle clouds the inner eye. Just all this crap. And, so she starts making a bunch of random predictions, and people have overanalyzed the fuck out of this chapter because there's a running trend of divination being full of shit, but, like, actually kind of coming true. And so there's... So the first thing she says is that, like, she says to Neville, "Is your grandmother doing okay?" And he's like, "I think so." He's like, and she's like, "Ooh, don't be so sure." I don't think anything ever comes of that. She tells Parvati to beware a red-headed man, and then she, like, looks over at Ron and scoots away. And I've seen people claim that, like, oh, well, you know, Ron ends up going with Padma at the Yule Ball, and it didn't go well, and Trelawney was just, you know, confusing them because they're twins. It's like, I mean, I guess. But also, like, the date didn't go well, but it also wasn't, like, that bad. It was bad.
Like, whatever, it's, you know.
Like, it's just, like, he didn't betray her or do anything. Like, it was fine.
And then she also predicts, like, she apparently Lavender has been worried about something, and she's like, oh, it will happen on the 16th of October. Or Friday the 16th of October. I checked, that is a Friday in 1992, so, okay.
Do you remember the payoff on that? I'm assuming you don't, because you didn't write it.
No, I don't, because I know that Lavender eventually dies in Deathly Hallows, but...
That's extremely debatable, actually. I don't think
I think I remember there being a question about it, but...
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, it just mentioned that, like, somebody stepped over, like, quote, her body, and it's not clear if she's just been knocked out or is dead, but...
It's... Yeah, there's no reason to go into it now, but basically, like, Greyback tries to attack her, and then kind of gets stopped immediately, and it mentions, like... you know, her twitching body. And we don't get confirmation if she survived or not, but I don't think he was able to really do much to her. She died in the movie, but...
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I don't think she actually died in the book. But anyway, this whole thing with the 16th of October is later on we find out that her pet bunny Binky was killed by a fox, and she got the news of that on October 16th. And then Hermione is just like, well, it probably happened before then, so, like, that didn't quite line up. And then, and also, like, you know, were you actually dreading this happening? Did you have any reason to suspect it? And she's like, well, no, but I must have secretly been because Trelawney said so. And it's like, no. So
I will mention this now because we don't have a note on this otherwise, I don't think, but this chapter starts a running thing of Hermione being extremely salty that she's not good at divination, and is like, oh, well, it's not a real, like, you know.
I mean, the class is fucking stupid, but yeah, she's like, very harsh towards it.
Yeah, she's like, you know, it doesn't really count as like a proper study of magic. It's all just a bunch of, you know, wishy-washy bullshit. She has kind of a point, but I think it is consistently proven that like there is some legitimacy to divination in this series.
Yeah,
so but it probably is mostly just like Ron says, you're just upset that you know you're finally rubbish at something, and that seems to like
she gets really offended at the beginning.
He's probably correct.
She gets offended at the beginning when Trelawney says, like, you know, your books can only teach you so much, and she's just like, oh no, but.
Well, and then Trelawney also says, I can see that you don't have the sight. And she's like, fuck off with that.
So, anyway, so there's that whole bit with Lavender, and then, so then the next part is, you know, they drink like a cup of tea and look at the leaves, and are supposed to interpret the shapes, and so Ron and Harry pair off, and Harry says that Ron is going to suffer, but be very happy about it. Which is, you know, obviously meant to just be stupid sounding. And people have tried to find ways, it's like, oh, this was a real prediction. It's like, you know, Ron is suffering because he has a broken leg, but then he's happy because, you know, Sirius was a good guy after all. It's like, no, fuck off. Like, and it's like, you know, Ron is suffering because Fred died in the 7th book, but then he's happy when Voldemort's defeated. It's like,
like, wow, a bad thing happened in his life, and then a different good thing happened?
Yeah,
Holy
say
shit.
It ain't so. So there's a million things that could apply to that. And then, but Ron reads Harry's and says that he sees a bowler hat and is like, well, what does that mean? You're going to work for the Ministry? And then turns it and is like, oh, okay, now it's an acorn, which means you're going to get a sudden windfall of money. And both of those are true, so that one could be legit.
I actually find that idea very funny, that Ron is just like, I guess it's this, I don't know, and he's like accidentally very good at it. Like, that would be hilarious.
Yeah,
if he was actually really good at divination by accident.
That's a running trend throughout the series, actually. People have pointed out anytime Ron jokingly makes a prediction, it turns out to be true. So we'll have to keep an
maybe
eye
he
out.
does have. Maybe the sight is strong with him.
Maybe.
What does he end up doing post book? I know that like Harry becomes
Harry and Ron both become
eventually.
Aurors.
Okay.
Ron kind of quits after a while, and then he just works at the joke shop with George.
Okay. I know Hermione eventually becomes Minister for Magic, but I don't remember what she does before that.
I think she basically is just something with house elf activate, like what do you call it? Activism. Yeah, I was gonna say activation.
Activated almonds.
So
anyway,
that whole class happens. Hermione's like, "Yeah, that was shit. It was nowhere. it was not. It was like it was nowhere near as good as my arithmancy class." And I'm like, "The fuck? You didn't take that." I still want to know what the hell that class is.
Yeah, and so there's a when they're doing the tea leaf thing, Trelawney comes over to have a look at Harry's, and quote unquote correctly interprets some of the stuff that Ron was looking at, and then is extremely shocked all of a sudden. Is like, oh dear, oh no, oh I might say, oh it'd be kind of not to tell. And everyone's like, what is it? And and she's like, you have the Grim, you're gonna die. And
yes,
and Harry starts freaking out a little bit actually, and like taking it,
I think I don't know if it was Harry. Oh no, he kind of was. Ron actually seemed to take it even worse because he's like, oh no, the Grim is serious shit. But
pretty much everyone in the class except for what is it, Dean Thomas and Hermione, know what it is because I guess there's everyone's like, oh shit, Grim, that's the worst thing ever. Like that's a true death omen.
Right.
And
so their class just immediately ends.
Yeah, it ends early.
And there's a passage that specifically says, like, even though they got out of divination early, they still barely managed to make it to Transfiguration on time.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus Christ.
But, so they get there, everybody's all gloomy, and So yeah, McGonagall
is trying to teach them about animagi, and
which is a nice bit of foreshadowing.
Yes. And so she turns into a cat, and then she comes back and she's like, well, not that it matters, but you know that's the first time the class hasn't applauded that. What's up with you guys? And everyone's like, we just had Trelawney's class. She's like, oh okay, yeah. Which of you guys is gonna die?
Yeah,
because apparently this just happens every year.
It's so good. I like we don't need a sassy McGonagall counter, but I like whenever it happens.
She's a very fun character. I like her a lot.
Yeah, she doesn't take shit from anybody. Like in this case, and with Umbridge, it's just like no fucks given.
Dude, McGonagall fucking makes those chapters bearable. Like that would just be so shitty to read it and put up with in the movie as well, if not for you getting to see that McGonagall is pissed too, and she's on the good guy's side. Like, thank God for McGonagall. But anyway,
so
I just made a note here that her dialogue here is just kind of nice and flows well. It was fun to read.
We actually skipped a note that you did.
Oh yeah,
Harry's quote "When you've all finished deciding whether I'm going to die or not!" Exclamation point. Yeah,
that's the full sentence. I don't know what the fuck that was. That seems like a mistake.
No. So here's the thing.
It seems like he's supposed to say, when are you all going to decide when I'm going to die or not? Or,
well, I mean,
let me know when you've all finished deciding whether I'm going to die or not. But he just doesn't say that part, so...
See, that's the thing, is I actually like this sentence because it's not grammatically correct. This sounds like something somebody might say. It's like, just imagine that, like, you go into a room and you just, a bunch of people start muttering about you or whatever, and you're like, okay, whenever we're done doing this. It's like...
Yeah, but you wouldn't put... I feel like if you wrote that, you wouldn't put an exclamation point at the end, you put, like, an ellipsis.
I guess. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was going for, is he's just like, okay, whenever you guys are done.
Yeah, maybe so. You just wrote the word bilious.
Yeah. So...
That's Ron's middle name?
It is, but, so here's the thing, is after Transfiguration, they're talking more about the Grimm and stuff, and Ron says that, his uncle... Is it his uncle? Hold on. Yeah. Where is it? Yeah, his uncle Bilious saw one and died 24 hours later, and Hermione is just like, well, there you go. The Grimm isn't a death omen, it scares people to death. Like... It's the cause of the death, and...
That was 24 hours later, though.
Yeah, I don't know, but,
This is the same conversation where Ron's like, well, you haven't seen the big dogs recently by any chance, have you? And Harry's like, well, actually...
Right. I think this was actually the part that cemented my, like, childhood fear of the Grimm, because it was just... The way it was presented was, you see this thing, and you just fucking die. And it's, like, for whatever reason, that just stood out to me as, like... I was paranoid of this thing showing up in the book, and it was just very unsettling. But
it almost reminds me of Blit. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Random tangent. It's this short science fiction story from, I want to say, like, the 70s or something, which basically posits, like, okay, if, like, a human brain and the human eyes, sight is just processing visual information. Like, hypothetically, that, what if there was, like, a particular combination of colors and like that kind of thing in a certain arrangement that if you looked at it would just like short circuit, just fry your brain. Like, your brain would not be able to handle looking at this and would just immediately shut down and die.
What the hell?
And in this story, mathematicians discover this symbol, and now this is just fucking contraband, like, because seeing this image will just cause you to instantly just, your brain will just fucking die. And so, now there's this like whole thing of like people, like, this image is illegal, but people still, have gained access to it, and there's like terrorists going around like spraying it on like the sides of like I think there's like I think they spray on the sides of gay clubs or something, because there's like a bunch of like homophobes basically or something, and like print it on the side of this thing, and there's like this whole thing of like school children like daring each other to like peek at it for a second, and they accidentally like develop a resistance to it or something. It's fucking weird. It just kind of reminds me of that. It's like, what if it's this thing that magically just signals to your brain like, oh, can't handle this, and just shuts down. I don't know.
Yeah, that's very weird. getting back to Bilious here, I had to double check this one because I did remember Bilious being Ron's middle name, and so I'm like, okay, so he was named after his uncle, or you know, his uncle Philip to carry on his spirit, but and so I'm like, that doesn't really
wasn't a V.
It's this like, you know, him being named after the Uncle Bilious wouldn't count as a second use of this character. So I'm like, does he ever get mentioned again? And I checked, and funnily enough, the very next chapter after we learn his middle name, which is Scrimgeour giving the like Dumbledore's like will items out, the very next chapter, Ron mentions something about Bilious, and Hermione's just like, isn't he the one who saw Grim and died? And I just and that's the only context.
Good. I like that Hermione remembers this.
Yeah. But yeah.
So while they're talking about
Bilious is just a good name in general.
Yeah. While they're talking about this, Hermione uses the phrase "pop one's clogs," which I had to look up. It's a great piece of slang. It just means to die. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Aren't clogs like the wooden shoes that Dutch people wear? Like,
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing is in the American version it got replaced with "kick the bucket," which is a term I've definitely heard, but I also don't know
you know what
that's supposed to mean.
Oh, you don't know? Oh, I get to tell you. Suppose that you want to kill yourself by hanging. You might make a noose, stand on a bucket, and then kick it.
Okay.
Anyway,
or you know, if you want to,
or somebody else would.
If you want to be the subject of a stupid ass riddle, you can stand on an ice cube. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, there was a person who was hanging from the ceiling, but there was nothing they could have stood on. And there was just a small puddle of water. Oh, it's like, yep, they stood on an ice cube. Good.
And then there's the first episode of Detective Conan, otherwise known as Case Closed, where I think the first episode involves, like, you know, somebody who had been stabbed, but there was no weapon, but there was a puddle of water, and so it turned out they had been stabbed with, like, a knife made of ice.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
He's still talking about it.
Yeah, so, cut to between classes. Malfoy's still doing his fucking impression. Yeah. Dude, get over yourself. It's
get
not
some better
funny.
Material.
Yeah. Like... Christ.
Have you seen that meme comic where there's like the guy up on stage telling some stupid ass joke, and the crowd is just like, boo, get some better material, and he looks down at the notes and it's just the same joke written like 5 times.
Good. Good shit. Yeah,
so I had to make a note here because so they get to Hagrid's class. There's the whole bit with the monster book where he's just like, everybody open up your books, and they're like, how? It's like, well, you just gotta stroke it. And Malfoy's being like, this is an instance of Malfoy being loud and rude, but also kind of being correct, where he's just like, oh yes, so obvious, oh, why didn't we think about it? He's just kind of saying what everybody's thinking, but like being really mean. But
and they make a point of like, you know, Hagrid is like noticeably down and like off his groove now because he was like getting into it, he knew what he was going to say, and I was just like, oh well, I guess I'll.
Yeah, well, you've got your books, and I'll go get the magical creatures. So we'll be back in a minute. And yeah, as soon as he leaves, Malfoy just says, "Oh, this place really is going to the dogs," which just I don't know if this is the actual line, but I am aware of a running gag from a Harry Potter musical. Yeah, I'm just where...
And its sequel.
Yes, let's not forget a Harry Potter sequel. That's important. Where Malfoy is just like, oh, this place is going to the dogs. That's why my father's transferring me to pig farts. And I had to look it up last night, and I found the clip, and I didn't find that line of it, but you have to watch it. It's so fucking good. He's just... rolling all over the place and being dramatic, and like apparently pig farts is on Mars, and the headmaster is a talking lion named Rumble Roar, which I had heard of Rumble Roar because it was one of the like houses on the Harry Potter subreddit, and like, where the fuck did this come from? But
I see.
So yeah, it's
just...
Anyway, I had to get into that.
Yeah. So Hagrid brings over a creature called a hippogriff, which is on the front cover of, I believe, both editions here,
Yeah.
like that we have featured in the video. And half like eagle, half well, it's just some kind of bird, and half horse, sort of like a griffin, but like different somehow. I honestly don't really know, and obviously they got griff in both names, and anyway, so yes, he brings over the hippogriffs and is like, okay, so number one, for most important thing, do not insult them. They're very proud, and they will, get pissed off if you do that. And you've gotta do this whole little ritual where you like bend down and bow to them to show your respect. And if they bow back, then then you can approach them. But otherwise, you want to stay away because they they don't want to deal with you. And just while he's doing this, like, Malfoy is just not listening at all, and is just
he's plotting like a way to interrupt the class or something.
Yeah. And so eventually he's like, "Can I have a volunteer?" And everybody's scared of this thing, but Harry, and I choose to interpret this partially as Harry's like, everyone's thinking of me as this delicate little flower this year. I've got to fucking prove myself and show that I'm I'm tough.
That could be part of it. I interpret it more as, Harry really likes Hagrid and is feeling bad that his class is not going well, and nobody is willing to, be the first to volunteer, so he's like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it's probably a mixture of factors. I like my interpretation as well. But anyway, so he goes forward, he does that. Everything's going well, and then Hagrid's like, "Okay, yeah, I reckon he'll let you ride him." He's like, "What?"
Yeah, he's like, hold on.
In the movie, this happens very fast. He basically throws Harry onto the thing and slaps its ass, and it's off. In this one, there is at least a couple of minutes of like, helping Harry get on properly and making sure he's like seated, and there's no like saddle or harnesses or anything. No, it's still just on the back, but.
Right. He's like, be careful not to pull out any of his feathers. And he's like, well, what the hell do I hold on to?
Yeah. And then, he's like, okay, go for a little run. And he does. And then the thing fucking takes off and does a little loop. And Harry's like, oh, okay. Okay. And gets off. But, overall, it's going okay. And everyone's, impressed and...
Yeah, and so then here's where the mistake happens. He's like, okay, so now that Harry's done it, everybody else go ahead. And so he turns the class loose. Everybody, he's got like, I don't know how many of these, probably like 10 of these hippogriffs, and everybody's kind of splitting off and bowing to him and stuff. And, Hagrid very obviously can't properly oversee all of this. Yeah. And so Draco calls Buckbeak, like, what?
Well, yeah, he does. Well, he does the bow and strokes it, and Buckbeak is Buckbeak is fine with him at first. Like, he lets him go over and pet him, and he's like, "Yeah, see, that was fine. Yeah, I bet Hagrid was full of shit, and you're not even dangerous at all, are you, ugly little brute?" Thing immediately slashes him across the arm. Just no fucking. It's like in an instant. This thing is like, nope, fuck you.
Yeah. Also, this is completely off topic, but I need to. As I was scrolling down to find the actual like the thing he said, it says that when Harry gets back, good work, Harry, roared Hagrid, as everyone except Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle cheered. Now, that actually stands out to me because people always say... Yeah, people always... Well, no, because Pansy's here. Like, but that's the thing, is like, people always say that, like, the Slytherins are universally an evil house that hate Harry or whatever. And it's like, here, it's like, they're not getting named or... Like, nothing specifically good is being said about them, but they're at least not all complete assholes. It didn't just say, like, all of the Gryffindors cheered and the Slytherins stood on, like, in anger.
I just want to say, that's what I said. Like, I said, oh, that means there were Slytherins that didn't, that did cheer. And you're like, no, because Pansy's there. And I'm like, what?
Oh, I thought you were saying that there were no other Slytherins in the class other than the...
No.
I just misheard, but yeah, it's a very minor thing, but I just noticed it.
So here's a point of debatability. Actually, I haven't really seen people discuss this, but I was thinking about it when I'm reading. Okay, I was thinking about it when I was reading the chapter because but yeah, as I said, basically Malfoy insults the thing, which is exactly what Hagrid said not to do, and the thing gets pissed off, attacks him. Hagrid, if to his credit, is like fast as lightning, but like fucking borderline teleports over there immediately, gets Buckbeak away, so nothing else happens. And it's really easy to just hate Malfoy and be like, oh well, he had it coming. He's an asshole. He ignored Hagrid's warning. And also they point out Madame Pomfrey could probably heal this wound like pretty easily, but it was still painful and still was dangerous. Something worse could have happened if Hagrid hadn't stepped over in time, and it probably wasn't a good idea to just give the class free reign over all these hippogriffs when he's the only one supervising, and he can't even really use one magic properly. Like he couldn't.
Yeah.
He had to. He basically just ran over there and just dealt with it physically. Like he didn't use any magic to deal with the situation. And ultimately, Malfoy is fine. It's not a serious. Like it doesn't end up being a serious injury, though. He obviously plays it up like it is. Like the thing almost killed him and tore him fucking in half. And this becomes a major running subplot throughout this book, which kind of comes into the main plot eventually. But for most of it, it's just kind of this unfortunate thing that's happening throughout. But yeah, like Hagrid probably should not have done this.
It really sucks because. So the thing is, I've actually seen a lot of negativity towards Hagrid in like the last few years. I always thought that he was a great character. He's just the perfect embodiment of the gentle giant. And he's not the brightest character necessarily, but his heart is always there.
Yeah, that's the thing is he makes mistakes. That doesn't make him a bad person. Like this, right. Even if you agree this is a bad idea, like he's just a complex character. Everybody messes up sometimes.
The thing is, like, I can see the argument to be made, like, okay, yes, he made a mistake, but it was one that probably should have been like anticipated ahead of time, and he was being irresponsible, so we can't just let him off with a slap on the wrist. Like, this is kind of a big deal. Like, this particular instance isn't so bad, but especially in the fourth book when he has the fucking blast-ended scroots, like, these classes are really dangerous and kind of pointless overall, and it sucks to say it, but Hagrid is not really a good teacher. He has some good classes. He can put something together, but he usually doesn't.
He has good knowledge about these things. It's just the way that he's handling his lessons.
I hate it because he is one of my favorite characters. Like, I remember early on in the first book, there's the whole scene with Hagrid taking Harry around Diagon Alley and kind of introducing him to the world, and I'm just like, I feel like this character doesn't get enough appreciation. Like, he really is great, and I stand by that. I like him a lot, but yeah, he's got his issues.
Yeah.
He's also...
I mean, even Lost Book, he sent Harry into the forest, and where he almost died with Ron. To get the answers from Aragog.
He causes a lot of problems, and it's like, you kind of can't overlook that, but I don't know how to feel about it, because I don't want to just be like, he's a nice guy, so don't worry about it. But
I think it's pretty true to life. He's just a he's a very flawed person who, how you feel about him, I feel like it's understandable if there are people who are less, patient with that and less forgiving of those kinds of mistakes, whereas other people are more okay with it because his heart is in the right place. He's a truly three-dimensional character, really, which I've seen a lot of people criticize the character writing in these books specifically as being like flat. I don't think so. I think a lot of the characters.
I don't think so either. Like, obviously, some of the side characters can be, but
yeah, I think Hagrid is a good example of that, where he has his good and bad points, and
And it's like, look at Dumbledore. Everybody is always either like, he's completely irredeemable, or he's great and always knew exactly what he was doing. It's never like, the whole point of the character is there's nuance. He wasn't perfect. He did.
And I think if you can have those kinds of arguments about a character and have all these people come to different conclusions about them, just to give another example that some people might know is like when Fire Emblem Three Houses came out, there was Edelgard was hugely divisive. There were so many people that could not fucking stand her and hated her. There's so many people that were like, she's actually, correct, and I agree with her kind of worldview here and stuff. Not going to mean anything to you, but if you can make that kind of divisive character, I think that's a success. It's not going to work for every character, and there's different degrees of it, but I think that shows the it's the same kind of complexity in real life.
Yeah.
Most people are not perfect saints or horrible corrupt monsters, and yet pretty much everybody has had some people that love them and some people that just despise them and can't get along with them, and yeah. It's true to life.
If you have any presence online, you know, you're like everybody either looks at you as either like, oh, well, you know, well, I like the things that you do, so I'm going to overlook your bad sides, or you did one bad thing once, so you're horrible forever. It's always one or the other. So,
yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that class, you know, kind of goes to shit, and it mentions that you know, Hagrid takes Malfoy up to the hospital wing. He gets like, you know, he gets treated immediately, but he acts like it's still hurting him. He's like, oh, I can't live through this pain, because he, you know, just wants to fucking get Hagrid fired because he's a piece of shit. And
yeah,
we see that the trio want to go see Hagrid later at night and comfort him. He's drinking really heavily, and you know, they basically tell him, like, you know, you were great, Malfoy's just an asshole. He tries to sober up a little bit, and there's just a great moment where, you know, he like dunks his head into a water barrel, and I had to just make fun of this here. Like, I'll just put the fucking edit in the video, but the actual line is, you know, he sees Harry and he's just like, what are you doing here, and why did you let him come? But yeah, it's just Hagrid stopped dead, staring at Harry as though he'd only just realized he was there. Mom! He roared so suddenly that they jumped a foot in the air. How really corking to see you! But,
Christ.
obviously it didn't happen, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the end of it, is, you know, we got those 2 new classes and also a little bit of Transfiguration, which was, you know, there to give us some McGonagall screen time and what do you call it, page time, and also set up a little bit of foreshadowing. We're gonna have some more classes next time as well. I think we get Lupin's first class,
right,
and kind of deepen the mystery of what's going on with Sirius Black and all that stuff. But I like these 2 chapters. I think
yeah, things are moving along. I've seen a lot of people say that this is one of their favorite books in the series, and I can, you know, even aside from just the overall, like, the tone of it or whatever, so far it actually has been doing a really good job of kind of setting stuff up to be paid off later.
Yeah.
I would say even more so than the first 2, so.
Yeah, probably.
And it's not as bloated as the next few books, so it's a nice balance.
Yeah. I think this book has a really good pace.
I don't think it's my favorite, but it's up there.
It's up there, yeah. Should we move on to comments?
Yes.
We had a few people that were actually similarly confused about the hot water or the hot water bottle thing that you were. So I was kind of surprised by that. I guess I thought they were more well known, but fair enough. And also there was a comment here about the magical cut content ice cream man. I think it was Florian Fortescue. And somebody just mentioned that, like, it's, you know, you often hear about cut content in games, but it's less common to hear about that stuff for, like, books and other media, and it was kind of cool to hear that. And yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that is kind of interesting. And I would be interested in hearing a lot more about, you know, the kind of, I was gonna say development, but that's not really the right term. You know, just I guess the, you know, early drafts and stuff like that.
Yeah, we know some stuff about how, like, Dean Thomas was supposed to be a more major character originally. Arthur was supposed to die in book 5.
Yeah.
So there's a few things, but yeah, it's cool to hear about that stuff.
And well, this comment is more pertinent to stuff that will come up, but basically just expressing interest in us talking about the new professor and about Sirius as they become more relevant and important. And I'm looking forward to it too. I think some of the stuff with the Marauders in this book, we're kind of establishing some of the cross-generational things in this book in general. You know, talking about, we don't get a full explanation of the stuff with, like, James and Severus exactly here, but we start to get a sense of, like, you know, what was Hogwarts like, you know, at the time of some of these characters that we know or are gonna know, and how does that relate to what's going on now. And I don't know, it's interesting. There's a intricate web of different character relationships here that's going to be expanded upon in the next few chapters and in the next couple books in general. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, the series definitely has a lot of characters to keep track of, and I'm always surprised at the fact that I don't have issue with it because I'm usually really bad at that stuff. But yeah, this is the first book to really kind of get more into that instead of just, you know, the classmates and the teachers.
Right. That's true. So yeah, I guess next time we'll see you for what did we say? It was
I assume it's 2 chapters again, but
probably the Boggart in the Wardrobe and probably also the Flight of the Fat Lady. So
okay.
See you then.